Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Game Time here live on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined by these two gentlemen here. JTE, how are you, brother?
Doing good, man.
All right, and Ben, man, a few words.
Hey, we got a short show today. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Ben Goddard, how are you feeling, man? How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. I'm always happy to be here to hang out with you guys, talk sports.
That's awesome. Ben's like, yeah, both teams played well. Both teams played ball. Both teams
yeah,
played ball.
Exactly. Just gave it all. I was like, it always reminds me of Brandon Frazier and Bedazzle. It's like, oh man, we just gave 110%. Oh, you just gotta get 110% out there. Just give it 110%. It's just a lot of good percent out there. Get rebounds. It's like pouring sweat.
There's a movie that doesn't get brought off. It doesn't get brought up.
Middle of the Renaissance, and I love it. He's in.
Oh yeah.
Not Umbrella Academy, but what's the other?
Oh yeah, Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol. He's got the FX show, and I think he's got a movie coming out. So I'm very happy to see Brendan Fraser back in the mix. Hell yeah!
I think he's in Aronofsky's new film.
Wow.
That's what it is.
Cast, yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah. Get your money, kid. Well, we're jumping into some sports here today over the next hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. A little bit of a shorter show today. Winston Marshall might join us in the second hour. Depends on the situation with his car. But Jay has got a call back, so that's why he's not here. And Ben, we're going to lose Ben at the 2 o'clock hour. So you'll have me and JT, possibly Winston as well, to drive you home. But we're going to get into all the NBA playoff stuff, get into some of the NFL news, some of the Olympics news. Yes, Euro 2020 news. So these guys can go take a break or grab a drink or something while I talk about it with you all. We're going to get into all of that here, break it all down, some coaching hires, what we think about that, some of the controversy.
Don't mind April in the background, man.
Hi, April. We might even get an April guest appearance. All of that is happening here on Game Time. A lot of fun. So, and please remember, the Streamlabs and Super Chats are available there for you all to send in stuff. So Streamlabs address right there between me and JTE's head, but it's also going to be pinned in the chat and the description of this video. So let's get into it, gentlemen, as we've got a little bit of a shorter show. Okay, Chris Middleton's 38 points in the fourth. He scored 20 of his 38 points in the fourth quarter here to lead the Bucks to a 113-102 victory over the Hawks yesterday, take a 2-1 series lead, also kind of wrestle back home court advantage, if there is one to be had in this series, from the Hawks after the Hawks had won game one. Then they got pulverized in game two and came back and had a really good 3.5 quarters in this game. And then it all just kind of fell apart in the back half of that fourth quarter. It was pretty incredible. Trae Young did his best, scored 35 points for this team, but in the end, it just wasn't enough to carry this team past what's becoming, JT, I don't know what you think, but it feels like the Bucks are kind of finding themselves round by round, especially in this series now with the way they took over like a veteran team in the back half of that fourth quarter to get the victory in Atlanta. What impressed you? What stood out for you? What are your thoughts about this game?
Well, Middleton, first of all, 38 points. That's huge. Anytime he plays like that, Milwaukee's going to be almost impossible to beat, I would say.
Yeah.
The thing with this one is, like, Atlanta was up with like 7 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And they're in their home court. And then what happened, I think a lot of people were pointing to the fact that he stepped on the referee's foot out of bounds. Yes. Twist his ankle. He definitely was 100% after that. He even said post-game, like, he sprained it. It's definitely hurting. So I'm a little concerned what he's going to be for the next game. But yeah, Milwaukee, listen, they've been to the playoffs a few years in a row here trying to make a run. Atlanta's kind of in this Cinderella story. No one expected them to be this far. So I do think the experience of being in the playoffs is definitely helping Milwaukee. And Milwaukee shooters are hitting their shots. Like, if they're hitting their threes, they're tough to stop, especially with Middleton having that kind of game. And Giannis is not shooting as many threes and is just kind of dominating. And there's nobody really they could put against Giannis that could stop him full stop. Yeah. So if his guys are hitting his shots outside and you can't really shut down Giannis, it's going to be hard to stop these guys to the point where it looks like the Suns are going to win. I think you kind of, if you're like a betting man, you kind of have to favor the Milwaukee to win that series.
At this point, 2-1. They look like the way they handled the Hawks in the last game, and then this past game yesterday, in that second game, but the way they came out and kind of withstood the barrage of Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta was beaten them by, or had as much of a 10-point lead, Ben, throughout most of this game. I was watching this thing. They tied it up at halftime, 56-56. And that injury to Trae Young hurt him a little bit, but that team has been able, against Philadelphia in game 7, Trae Young was shooting like crap and other people stepped up to lead them. It didn't happen this time around. And you mentioned Giannis, 33 points and 11 rebounds for him. Middleton had 11 rebounds himself and 7 assists. Kendrick Perkins, Ben, said that Chris Middleton is the Batman and it's Giannis who's the Robin. So do you have that vibe coming out of this game, or is Kendrick just one too many hits in the head?
Kendrick is just known for just being wild. Just like I mean, and like, honestly, props to Kendrick because he knows who gets paid. You know, the ESPN had those huge amount of layoffs. Guess who got a raise? Stephen A. Smith and, Skip Bayless over on Fox. Yep. They know who gets money. And Kendrick Perkins like, let me just say some wild shit all over the internet, and I'm going to get like a constant ESPN job. And that's what it is. That's ridiculous. Perk, come on, just stop it. Just stop it. But no, like Milwaukee has been tested with everything. They've been to overtime against Kevin Durant. They've had tough losses. They've beaten the big bad in New Jersey, or Brooklyn. Yeah. You want to say Kyrie and Harden weren't there. That's fine. That's not Milwaukee's problem. They won the game they were supposed to win.
Yep.
And they're in the Cinderella game against Atlanta, and Atlanta just they're not there yet. Trae Young is a star. The kid, like, he's like my height, and he's scoring 40 on these giants. Like, it's crazy. But if he's injured, it's over. Honestly, it might be over. Like, I'm so glad they got game 1 because I'm rooting for Atlanta, the great underdog story. But if Trae Young is injured, it's absolutely over because they just don't have that other guy. Clint Capella has definitely found a second life in Atlanta, and he's really come into his own with Trae Young. But they got to have that big 3. It's all about the big 3 in the NBA, and Trae Young either needs like a dominant 4 or like another dominant 3 or something, like CJ McCollum going over to Atlanta or something like that would help them a lot. But it just doesn't seem like it's in the cards, and that's no fault. Like, Milwaukee with Giannis took a few years. Yeah. Milwaukee, when they lost to Toronto when Kawhi won his first ring or his ring with Toronto, Giannis got shut down that entire series because he had his one spin move, and Kawhi's like, okay, you're gonna win game 1, I'm gonna win the rest of these. Like, 7-game series is a different thing than playing you one time every 3 months during the season. But he has evolved his game. He stopped shooting stupid threes that he doesn't need to take. What's the guy's name from the Rockets that came over?
PJ Tucker.
PJ Tucker is an amazing. Like, he is the Bruce Bowen of that team. Corner threes and defense. That's all they need from PJ, and he's doing it in spades. And so that's what this team is really, really coming together, and it might be their year. I think I have to favor them over the Suns as well because it seems like the Suns are. I don't think the Clippers can win 3 in a row without Kawhi.
No.
But I definitely favor them over the Suns. I know like CP3 gets the credit for literally every pass the Suns ever make this year, apparently, even though the team is doing really good things with and without him. But I think it's finally Giannis's time after, back-to-back MVPs, really good seasons, and finally putting it together in the playoffs.
Yeah. And, you wonder if Kendrick is a little bit of an Atlanta fan, just kind of digging at Giannis, digging at Middleton, trying to maybe create a little bit of division between them. But I don't think Giannis is the kind of guy that cares. It seems to be that he's not even from America, Liz. So his mindset is completely different in how he approaches competition. So he may be this guy who's like, I don't care as long as we win. And certainly he was the key to them winning game 7 against Brooklyn, as you mentioned here, Ben, the way they were able to take that game in overtime. But you look at this, you look at what's happening here. And if Middleton's stepping up, and also they got great, then they're going to be tough to stop, JT, as you said. But you look at the performances, right? They got 10 points from Brook Lopez, and he got his stuff. PJ Tucker, 8 rebounds. He played great defense on Trae Young as much as possible. And then you have people like Pat Connaughton. I was watching Pat Connaughton, and he was getting blocks. He was bursting through. He was grabbing rebounds. Those little
J-Rue Holiday. Another, like, they have
Drew Holiday, right?
Yeah, they've added the pieces they've needed to add that they were sorely missing last year.
Yeah.
Defense, a solid point guard. Yep. Is it J-Rue Holiday or Drew Holiday?
Drew Holiday.
Drew Holiday. Okay.
Yeah.
And then with PJ Tucker, like, they've added the pieces they need to, and the coach has done such a good job to coalesce them together. And you're right. Giannis doesn't give a shit what Perk says. It'd be one thing if it would be like a reputable source, like
right.
It's Kendrick fucking Perkins,
right?
Yeah.
JT, go ahead. Yeah,
I just think Giannis is the one who's gonna show up every night.
Yeah,
Middleton has shown that he will just not show up in some games, and just literally like it's almost like his stats are so low. But then he has a game like this, and you're like, where has this guy been like the last 3 series? And he does pop up 1 or 2 games a series.
Yeah.
Those are the games you're like, okay, well, if he could be a little more consistent, then I think he would be a much more popular and revered player. But Giannis is going to come in and do what he does every day and be aggressive. And, he's hard. He dominates under. He's the big guy with speed. Like it's hard to calculate for an NBA. So I think Perkins is just blowing smoke. And I think for Atlanta, I can't pronounce his name. Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich. Yeah,
Bogdanovich. Like he's had a knee problem.
Yep.
And he was a huge factor in those first 2 series with Atlanta. Like he hit some huge shots, tough shots. And I think not having him at 100% is really hurting them. And then if Trey's not 100% either, I think they're done.
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up. Bogdanovich was 2 for 10 from 3-point land last night. That's not going to get the job done. Only 8 points. Gallinari picked up a little bit of the slack, getting 18 points himself and getting some rebounds and a couple of steals. But you've got to get more from these bench players who, if you're going to have a shot at getting into the finals. And I was watching a little bit of Euro this morning, and one of the coaches said in a press conference, the higher up you go, the thinner the air gets and the stronger you need to be. And you can see here, this is what Atlanta is getting a little bit exposed with some of the lack of depth they have at this higher level of basketball. Whereas Milwaukee, as you said, Ben, has signed the right people, put pieces in place to handle what needs to handle. And I would absolutely favor them over the Suns, because I think that as much as a veteran presence as Chris Paul is, we know Chris Paul can get in his head. We know he can get emotional. And if Giannis and Middleton can show up as much as possible every night, then they can bully that team into victories over the Suns. Booker is still a young kid. We're going to get to him in just a second. So there are possibilities here that if Milwaukee handles their business, they'll take care of the Suns within 5 or 6 games, in my opinion, if they don't let this thing drag out to 7. If Atlanta finds new life and embraces that Cinderella role and Milwaukee gets in their head, then we got a whole nother series at this point. But it feels like Milwaukee kind of took control of the series last night, even though they're only up 2-1, don't you think?
I think so, especially you have the hype around Atlanta. They were playing Nuck If You Buck at halftime. Right. Atlanta, the city of Atlanta is so behind the Hawks. Even more so back when they had it was like Josh Hamilton and that team. That was the old Hawks team. And they have the whole city behind them. And the fact that they came out in that third quarter, Middleton with 20 in the fourth quarter to come back and win that game, that was huge. And I think it's over. And I think they need it to be over, because the Suns are probably going to close the Clippers out back in Phoenix in this next game. And so the Suns are going to have that rest time. Chris Paul is going to have that rest time, which he needs. And the Bucks also need that rest time too, because they have a lot of vets on that team. They can't be getting dragged 6 or 7 games around, by this, young upstart team in Atlanta. Otherwise, they're going to come into that series tired, and the Suns can steal game 1 or 2 from them.
Yeah. Any final words on this one here, JT?
I just think Atlanta, it's their first year making this run. I think you need that playoff experience. They're playing way better than anybody thought they would play.
Yeah, they deserve all the credit.
People were saying the Knicks were going to beat them in round 1. And here they are in the Eastern Finals. For me, I'm just excited to see these teams with this great young talent. It's kind of like the next generation of NBA stars. And Trae Young, that little shimmy he gave, man, it was the best in that first game.
He's the goods. Trae Young is absolutely the goods, and I'm excited to see what his future holds. It just might not be his year, and that's no one. LeBron didn't do it in his first few years. Michael Jordan didn't even do it in his first few years. You got to get time, and Trae Young is already proving to be a playoff star. And if you ever need a lift to like not ever get ahead of yourselves, go watch highlight videos of Knicks fans after they won their one game against the Hawks. Just like there's just a highlight reel of just them talking all that mess and then 4-1 losing against the Hawks.
Well, I mean, fans have been they've been desperate to be involved in these games, having missed out last year, obviously with the bubble and everything. So they've gone to next level mania. I feel like in these playoff games, rushing the court, coming up with chants that blow in their face, like the choking chant or balding chant at Trae Young's expense. But last night, the Hawks fans got into it a little bit. It's ironic that they're on the other side of this thing. They were the ones counting how many seconds were going on before Giannis took his foul shot. You're only allowed 10 seconds before you take. They were up into the 14, 15 level of counting before Giannis took a shot. So clearly they tried to influence the refs to cause some kind of violation here. And Giannis, I think, was 5 for 12 from the free throw line. So not a good stat line at all. So if they can start to maybe mess with them a little bit, you never know what can happen. If they tie this series up in the next game and roll on into Milwaukee, I guess it could be interesting to see how both teams respond to that. But now that they have a little bit of ammunition, those Suns fans are like salivating, waiting to take from the Atlanta fans and use it against Giannis if it's the Bucks they face in those finals. Well, speaking of,
let me just add, I do think Milwaukee is probably, like we all said here, favored to win the finals if they go to, but it's going to be a great series. I think it'll be a very entertaining series and high powered, high offense. So even though I say, yes, I think Milwaukee, if I was going to bet, I wouldn't count the Suns out, and I'm expecting a great finals.
Yeah. Oh, good point. And I think here at this point, it should be said, like Middleton or Giannis, neither one of them are Batman because they don't show up every night. Batman shows up to fight crime every night, ladies and gentlemen. Every night. So to me, they're more like Azrael and all those people that took over when Batman had his back broken by Bane. They're stepping in for Batman, still getting the job done, but no way are either of them Batman. So that comparison is all off the charts wrong for so many reasons. But anyway, let's move on to this a little bit more of the Trae Young status here. We talked about how he twisted his ankle, ironically stepping on a referee's foot as he was moving backwards on defense. Referee Sean Wright, who was in his sideline position out of bounds, is how he rolled his ankle. Young fell to the ground. He limped out. They taped him up. This was about 8:44. He came back to the game with about 8:44 remaining, but he was not as powerful of a presence as he had been up to that point. He said, quote, "I got some treatment on. I'm going to go get some more in the morning. That's all I can do right now is get treatment." And he was asked how the injury specifically impacted his game. And he said, "Really just my blow by speed. That's a big part of my game is my ability to blow by anybody. When you're on the left side and you're trying to blow by, you've got to use your right foot." So the MRI is scheduled today. We haven't heard yet what the results are, but if he's out for game 4, I really can't give Atlanta any chance to win this game. But if Trae Young is even somewhat hobbled, it doesn't look good for them overall, I think.
No, they need their star. Like they need they scored 35 and they still lost last night. You take those 35, 40 points away. Yeah. And even if he's at 70%, like you said, his speed and his maneuverability is his main weapon. Yeah. And he creates that space to shoot those 40-foot threes that go in sometimes. And it's super unfortunate because the story of these playoffs, unfortunately, is going to be injuries. Yeah. And I'm not trying to take away anything from anyone who's won the games because, it's all part of the game, but they need to either reduce how many regular season games there are, maybe make the opening round a 5-game series or something. I don't know what the answer is right now, but there's just too many injuries that are really mucking up these playoffs. And it's not like, these are the stars. These are the faces of your game, and it is costing you money. Yeah. Like it is like Adam Silver is definitely feeling it in his pocketbook of like the Nets not making it to the Eastern Conference Finals with your 3 big stars, the Lakers not making it, the Clippers about to go out. Like he's definitely feeling it with these major markets losing their big time stars. While they form these super teams. So it's really unfortunate because I've loved watching Atlanta in these playoffs. Trae shimmy is great. He's already feeling it, but it sucks that this is the way they're going to go out if Trae Young can't come back at full strength.
Yeah, and there's an argument to be made that if Kawhi was healthy, they might be winning this series against the Suns. Oh, because these games have been close.
Yeah, close. Like these games have been crazy close. Paul George hit some free throws. It could easily be 3-1 the other way.
100%. Imagine you had Kawhi, who was the most consistent player on that team and the best player.
The most perfect inbounds pass we've ever seen to DeAndre Ayton. That's a game right there. Like
game right there. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like Kawhi, I think the Clippers would definitely take the series if they were 100%. Like it happens. It's the game, but it would at least be 2-2 at the very least.
Which bodes well for the Bucks if they're looking at those Suns possibly a little bit in their minds down the road. And speaking of that, let's move on to that Suns and Clippers here. The Suns outlasted the Clippers 84-80 on Saturday. They now lead the West Finals, as we said, 3-1 here. Odds-on favorites to win it. Chris Paul was clutch as hell during that game in his old arena there in Staples for the Suns against his former team, the Clippers. This was literally a scrap junkyard dog fight where both of them were just kind of tearing shirts off and scratching each other and punching and clawing until somebody finally climbed out of that ring as the winner. And it happened to be the Suns. There was a lot of drama, a lot of controversy. Even Chris Paul, who is not one to overstate a situation most of the time, said this was a hell of a passionate game with the swings going back and forth, very difficult to navigate. JTE, they took care of business here. This is the kind of victory you need to have to kind of get through a tough team like these Clippers and a veteran team like these Clippers. And the Suns did it. What do you take out of this?
It was messy. First of all, they all look exhausted by the end of the game.
Oh my God.
They were all exhausted. And the refs, a lot of people are criticizing these games because they're taking so much time to watch replays, but there were a couple blown calls at the end of this game.
Yeah.
Like one of the Suns players, it was off his hand, even though I think not Tatum. It sounds like Tatum, but he plays for the Clippers. But Batum.
Yeah, Batum. Nicholas Batum.
Nicholas Batum, yes. He knocked the ball out of. I could. You know me. I'm pronouncing that.
It sounds like Tatum. Is it Batum?
Yeah, I know. I was trying to find my.
The French in me is very offended. But
I apologize. Yes, I'm horrible. They not American. So when he hit his hand, the ball clearly went off his hand afterwards.
Yeah,
and I don't understand why the refs will take time to look at certain, plays, but they just even he was look, replay, and they're just nope, keep going. How do you pick and choose which plays to review? That's a huge play in the last minute and a half of the game to give the Clippers a possession to make this a tie game or something. I just don't understand how the refs decide what to look at, what not to look at.
Yeah.
Now, did the coach not have a challenge? I don't know. I think he might have used it already at that point. So, and there was another call, I think, on a foul that clearly wasn't a foul. It's frustrating when you see the refs stopping the game for certain calls, and then they don't when it's kind of obvious that they got it wrong. Yeah. And I understand the argument. Oh, you're slowing the game down. But if you're gonna do it, do it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna review all these crucial plays, review every crucial play. To me, a basketball game, it's fast paced, and then the last 3 or 4 minutes becomes a chess game. Timeouts, set plays. The game slows down in the last minute purposely because each coach is really bringing in strategy at that point. Mm-hmm. So watching the game, Ben was saying, the Clippers could easily be in the lead here.
Yeah.
If a couple calls, a couple free throws go their way. And I think if they had Kawhi, it'd be a whole different story. They could be up 3-0.
It's a good point. And Ben, they certainly showed up here on defense, the Clippers did. I mean, Phoenix barely shot better than 36%. They were 31 of 86 for the game. So certainly the game was there to be had for the Clippers, even though they were down in the first quarter, 14-2, looking like they weren't ready to take this team on at all. Their defense kind of dragged them back into this game. And then that third quarter, they exploded and got close, got to within 2, got to within 1. And Tyronn Lue said they had 12 opportunities to take the lead in the game and could not take advantage of 12 separate possessions where they could have gone into the lead in this. They only shot 32% themselves. So, is this the last gasp of this team, do you think? And tonight they go out, or do you think this inspired them to show up in Phoenix and be like, F you, you're not taking us out this quickly. We're going to come at you and come for the throat.
I think this was their game to take. 2 games in a row, you have CP3 and Devin Booker just off. Whether it's just an off night or they were just – Patrick Beverley he's a scary person.
Yes, he is.
Let's just be honest. Like
off the court and on the court.
Off and on the court. Like, he's a guy you just don't want to run into.
He's a junkyard dog, man.
He really is. Like, he's got zero off switches in him. Like, I remember when we were just giving Lonzo Ball crap when he was on the Lakers, when his first game was against Patrick Beverly. I'm like, it doesn't matter. This felt like an LA Fitness game where both teams are at 11 games to 12, and you were just not getting that game point. Like, there's no free throws. So foul, take it up top. Foul, take it up top. It felt like one of those games. But again, this is a game that the Clippers need to win. Paul George, you want to get paid like that guy, you got to be that guy.
Yep.
Trust me, like, with Kawhi, it's either 3-1 there or at least 2-2 because Kawhi is that guy. He's made those big shots. He's won those big games. He's got 2 rings. He's got 2 finals MVPs for guarding the best player on the planet, like a lot. So having Devin Booker switch between Patrick Beverly and Kawhi would be very tough.
Yeah.
But Clippers, they got to win this game. They've got those role players like Marcus Morris. What's the guy from the Raptors?
What are you talking about? For the Clippers?
He's a big man.
I
can't think of his name.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't pronounce it.
I do want to see JTE.
Keep talking. I'll find it. Keep talking.
But Vucevic or something, doesn't it?
No,
keep talking. Starts with a Z.
No, but they do have Zubac, who's playing well.
Zubac, that's what I was talking about. Zubac.
Right. Oh, Ibaka's out. Okay, I was going to say, where's Ibaka?
Ibaka's out with back.
Oh, yeah, Ibaka's out for the series because of his back issues. He might even be out for the season next season. That's the rumor. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, they've got Cousins, and what a crazy career DeMarcus Cousins has had. Like, first round pick, big free agent, and now he's like on a 10-day contract. But even he was joking. He's like, I think I'm the only guy in history with a 10-day contract that's getting doubled. Like, it's like that's pretty funny.
Let's not forget he threw the ball against the backboard when it was supposed to be
off
the rim.
That's a tough play. That's a
tough
play.
You gotta know the rule.
Aiming for the rim. He wasn't even aiming for the rim.
Yeah. You gotta know the rule.
Hey, Donovan McNabb didn't know you could tie in overtime either. So let's share the blame here.
Right.
But I think Tyronn Lue. I think you can't blame him on that one because I think he probably knew this guy's a veteran. He knows what needs to be done.
Yeah,
then when he saw the ball off the backboard, he's like, "Mother."
Yeah.
Well, he saw Paul George do it just a couple plays before. He did perfectly.
That's true. Yeah,
but they've got to win this game because Phoenix does have that offense, and 84-80. This is not the 1990s. Like the fact that no team even reached the 90s with points, like it's so crazy. But this was the Clippers game to take. You saw like Phoenix should have run away with this 14-2 opening. They should have run away with this game. They couldn't close it out. They gave the Clippers every single chance. And there were definitely some bad calls, but you can't leave the game up to the refs because it's not going to go your way. Honestly, it's just not. And whether you want to say Phoenix got bailed out by the refs, make your free throws, make your big shots. Like Paul George, you got, every draft pick paid for you from Oklahoma City. Like Clippers paid for this. Kawhi asked for you by name. So you want to get paid like that guy, you got to be that guy. And whether it's, a buzzer beater or just literally free throws at the line, 2 games in a row, 2 games in a row, you got to make those. And, I went to school with Paul George. I, had a few conversations. He's a nice guy. I like Paul George. Yeah, I went to Fresno State with him, partied with him a few times. Name drop real quick. But
go Bulldogs. Yeah.
Go Bulldogs. But, it's tough when you lose your Batman to your Robin, whichever one you want to call Paul George and Kawhi. It's tough to lose your partner in crime when you play your whole season with this guy and they're resting him and stuff, and then just it's tough because Kawhi brings so much to the table. But you had the game in your hands, and I think this series is over.
I think, and last year, that's the thing. If you go ahead and you're going to tie yourself to one of the best in the league, to essentially, like you said, a Batman, and you're willing to play the Robin. But last season, a lot of people complained that he couldn't get the job done with the best player on his team right next to him. Now, the last couple of games, he can't get the job done as the main guy. Yes, he keeps him in the game. Yes, he gets his points. But what separates the good from the greats are the greats show up in those last quarters, last few seconds or last few minutes of the quarter and do what needs to be done. They're ice cold. They somehow find a way to do it. Paul George has not been able to, and he got away with it in that Phoenix game because, as you said, Ben, that was one of the greatest passes you've ever seen from the inbounds pass.
Yeah.
They would have totally forgotten the free throws if they win that game by 1 point. But to do it again here and then watch Chris Paul just calmly sink those, you see the difference between great and good or even very good. Those are the differences there. So if you keep blowing your opportunities, when you have opportunities to win games or win championships or win titles, that matters, in the end, in assessing your overall impact or legacy of the game. And Paul, he played all 42 minutes, but in the end, couldn't get those free throws at the end that would have made it even tighter on Phoenix and put it back on them.
Well, if we're going to do comic book, basically, there's no question Batman and Robin. Paul George is the Robin.
Yeah.
Kawhi is the Batman.
Yeah.
And what happened was Batman got hurt. Robin became Nightwing. And he became a better player because Paul has played really well.
He's played good.
Even though he's Nightwing, he's still not Batman. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
That's a
It
fair
really
point.
is. It really is Nightwing and Batman where, Paul George has been like, he's really good at Indiana. He's really good. He's on Oklahoma City. Yeah. Now he's on his first title contender. And I don't know if, the pressure's getting to him. He's in his own head after, the first game where he missed the free throws and that would shake a lot of people. Yeah. But you gotta have, like Ted Lasso says, you gotta have that goldfish memory where just like every 10 seconds just gone. Every 10 seconds gone. Like, fresh starts. And so I'm hoping that the Clippers can make a run because I like a lot of those players, but it just seems like the Suns, whether you want to call it injuries, luck, whatever, they're winning games. Yeah. And it seems like they're gonna be in the Western Conference Finals.
Well, the game's tonight. Do you guys both? It's at 6 p.m. PT our time. Anticipate Phoenix winning this one, both of you?
They need to win this because if Clippers have come back 0-2 in a lot of series.
That's true.
If they come back 3-1, if they win this game and it goes back to LA, it's at least going Game 7.
Okay, all right. What do you think, JT?
It's tough because, like you said, they have come back 0-2. This series could easily be switched. I just think Phoenix smells blood in the water. They're at home. Like you said, Booker had some off games. I think he's going to show up. I think he's just going to show up, and it'll still be close, but I think the Suns will pull it out and close the series out.
Yeah, fair enough.
But if the Clippers somehow rallied, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you're the Suns, you got to go for the throat, man.
Yeah, I think the Clippers win tonight. I think they show up. I think Paul George has like 40 fucking points and puts it on the Suns, and somehow the Suns can't go. Remember, Booker fouled out of this game. Booker had his nose busted up in the game.
Got teed up.
And got teed up. So the pressure is getting to him a little bit. And if Paul George can just focus and all the team can rally, because there's a lot of veteran guys on this team who can step up, and there's a pride situation that comes into it. And you're playing guys that are younger, so there's the old man kids thing that could factor into this. So if they come out in Phoenix and they absolutely start whooping up on these Suns, then you start to put a question in the Suns' mind, and you're heading back to LA, as Ben just said, and you can tie this thing up 3-3, and who knows what happens in a Game 7. And if Kawhi all of a sudden has a miracle recovery from his knee injury and wants to play Game 7. So this is the key game. And last night, going up 3-1, certainly a good situation for the Suns. But this game is the key game, I think, in the series here overall. So we shall see.
Got to keep it close. You can't let the Suns go on a run because this home crowd will eat it up, and it'll be like a snowball down a mountain. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. So they got to keep it close from the get-go. They can't let them blow the doors open right out of the gate.
I do want to give credit to Tyronn Lue as well, because I know people are like, LeBron won that ring. He was basically the head coach, GM, president, point guard, whatever you want to call LeBron. But Tyronn Lue has coached a hell of a series without his star player. They should have won that tip-in game. That was a miracle. And then, keeping a team to 84 points and again being within a few free throws of another win. He has got a great scheme going with the players that he has, with losing Ibaka, apparently, which I didn't know, and then losing Kawhi. 2 starters in your toughest series. Tyronn Lue, for sure.
Yeah. Two players, Ben, with championship experience. You know what I'm saying? That's important.
Yeah, your 2 most veteran players. So
yeah, very important thing to lose on your team for sure. And we'll see. We've got 115 of y'all watching us live. Thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure you hit that like button as well. And for those of you watching later, hit that like button, leave a comment. Those are always important here to raise the visibility of the show and the channel itself. And please keep sending in your Streamlabs super chats. Only one super chat so far. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. I think you're enjoying what we're bringing it to you. So here's the super chat. Comet Swordman said, "Great show, you guys. Quick question: is Tom Brady Batman? Batman Returns? Which one is Tom Brady?"
I think he's Superman. You got the wrong superhero. Totally.
I was gonna say Batman Returns because he's definitely like banging Michelle Pfeiffer, Tom Brady.
Good point.
Fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
His kryptonite is New York Giants.
That's true. That's a very good point. But yeah, I agree with everything the gentleman just said here. All right, let's keep going. And please, the Streamlabs address right above JT's head, or right between us, rather. It's also pinned in the chat and in the description of this video. So send us some love here as we go along. And for Daniel Salva, you're asking where the blurs are. Winston is getting his car fixed, so having some trouble there. We started a little bit early. Jay's got a call back, so had to kind of make some adjustments. So appreciate you still watching us, though, brother man. All right, let's move on to our next thing, and that is the Dallas Mavericks. I put this earlier in the rundown because I expected Winston to be here, but let's talk about it. They have reached an agreement to sign Jason Kidd as their coach and Nike's Nico Harrison as their GM. This is the same Jason Kidd that has a regular season record as a coach of 183 and 190. His teams have gone 9-15 in 3 playoff appearances. The Brooklyn Nets, he coached them in 2013, 2014. Then the Milwaukee Bucks from 2014, 2018. When Giannis had come into the league, Jason Kidd was their coach. He's been an assistant the past 2 seasons with the Lakers. So here he goes into this situation. All right, Ben, let's get your take on this first. Do you like this hiring for the Mavericks? Do you give a shit about this? Do you think this is the bad recipe for danger? And Nico Harrison has a very strong relationship with Luka Doncic. So is this Luka flexing on the team, on the organization in this situation?
It seems at least with the GM hiring, it seems that way because we're going to get to another story where Dame isn't happy with the head coaching, and so NBA more than any sport, superstars have this kind of power. Yeah, we saw Aaron Rodgers try and have it, and we still don't know what's going to happen with that team, but it seems like he's probably going to play for the Packers because we haven't heard much movement, or he's probably too expensive to move. Yeah. Things happen in the NBA. Teams will give up the farm for one player because in the NBA, one player can get a ring. You can't do that in football. But with who?
Sorry. Tom Brady. Bucks, Tom Brady.
Okay.
Oh. Because his defense had nothing to do with that Super Bowl, or having like a top 5 receiver and getting another top 5 receiver and a running back. Yeah,
all these receivers were there the year before, but
exactly. Yeah, they had a team. It wasn't just they just add Tom Brady and then we're good now.
Yeah. It wasn't like the Jets.
It wasn't like the Jets added Tom Brady on the Jets. We'll see how he does. But no, with when it comes to Dallas, Jason Kidd's best coaching moment was when he had one of his players run into him and spill his ice on purpose so he could get a free timeout. That was Jason Kidd's most brilliant coaching moment. And yes, it's a brilliant coaching moment, but one, they still lost that game, and they still got a losing record as a coach. So I don't understand this hiring where it's just like this carousel of the same names being brought up over and over again. And I don't know if they need an outside hire or a college coach or what they need, but this feels so weird to me. And because the Mavericks are right there, it feels like they're right there and they're just waiting to break through. And this just feels kind of like a step back, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if I trust this one, JT, either. And, shout out to Frank Vogel having a pit bull like Jason Kidd, who definitely wants to coach the Lakers and get that prominence of coaching LeBron right on his bench as an assistant and holding him off, holding him at bay, winning that title, then taking him to the playoffs this year and dealing with the injuries. Probably very clear the organization was not going to replace him with Jason Kidd. So Jason took this job. So do you like this move for him overall? Do you think this makes sense? Him and Cuban, Kidd's kind of a weird cat. That remember that mustard incident? So he's a weird cat as a coach. I don't know if I trust him to be necessarily leading my team. I think he'd be a great one-on-one with Doncic, but I don't see him as leading my team. into the Western Conference Finals or even the finals.
Yeah, I wish I could be a fly on the wall with these meetings. Like they obviously interviewed more than just Jason Kidd. I really wish they would just come out and say like what his plan was. Like what did he sell them on that they were like, this is the guy to go with. I mean, he must be really good at interviews. He's gotten some jobs in the past. So to me, this is one of those things where like, yeah, if you're going off his past record, it's nothing super impressive. It's a little bit of a head scratcher, but maybe he just went in there and had a great plan and a great layout of what he wanted to do. And listen, Mark Cuban's not a dumb guy. I mean, I feel like he's not the guy who's just going to listen to fans. Yeah, he'll listen to his star player. Yeah. So obviously that had a factor. But to me, it's a little bit like, okay, so, but let's see what he does with it and see what kind of plan he has.
Let's get Jason Kidd on Shark Tank and pitch something.
That's exactly
that's what happened.
That's what they said. Why should you coach my team?
Yeah, it's fascinating too because Kidd left the Mavericks under some pretty auspicious circumstances when he left, kind of screwing over Cuban a little bit and heading off to the Knicks after he had agreed to re-sign with the Mavericks. He essentially pulled a DeAndre Jordan in reverse. And so he did that kind of game here with them. So the fact that they smoothed it over is pretty incredible. Apparently Nowitzki, Dirk Nowitzki is over there now as a special advisor to the Mavericks, and he signed off on this hire. And then Rick Carlisle on his way out the door, we'll tell you where Rick ended up. He co-signed this as well. I said, my hope is that Jason Kidd will be the next coach of the Mavs because he and Luka have so many things in common as players. I just think that it would be a great situation for Luka, and I think it would be an amazing situation for Jason. I'm the only person that's coached both those guys that knows all about their special qualities. To me, that just would be a great marriage, but that's just an opinion.
There you go.
Is he telling the truth, or do you think he's kind of like, should let these two guys eat each other? I'm out of here. What do you think?
I think Rick Carlisle has gone full Jeff Bridges with just like, well, whatever, man, whatever. Like I
won my title.
He won the title.
Yeah.
And you wonder what's happening with Luka because you saw a lot more technical fouls this year. You saw a lot more complaining with the ref. And, I'm not trying to pin everything on him or something like that, but you wonder he's like this overnight superstar where his little teammate Kristaps Porzingis hasn't been able to fulfill the unicorn shoes. Yeah. And Doncic is there. And so I'm wondering, this feels like another Steve Nash type of hire with the Nets. So you wonder how Jason Kidd and Doncic is going to go well together. And I think Rick Carlisle will say anything because, like, he's still got his contract money. He's going to get paid for the next 3 years. Like, yeah, sure, he's great. Why?
Yeah, peace.
It's like, he's good. What was it? Anyway, it's a big one. Like that's Rick Carlisle right now. He doesn't give a shit.
But another side of this, JT, and I get your thoughts on this, and Ben as well, of course, and I've got my feelings about this. I mean, Kidd also off the court, doesn't have the greatest track record. In 2001, arrested for suspicion of hitting his wife, pled guilty to spousal abuse. He also pled guilty to driving while intoxicated in 2012 in this situation. And a number of this situation, and this is a Mavericks team, a Mavericks organization that's coming off these accusations about sexual harassment, systemic issues there about how they treat women. Mark Cuban was on what show, and he was crying. He was on he was there crying about like, I wanted to be a better situation in this with Rachel Nichols when he was on The Jump there on ESPN. And Jasmine Wimbush, who covers the NBA and WNBA for CBS Sports, she called out the contrast between Kidd's hiring and Mavs owner Mark Cuban's promise. She said Mark Cuban went on national television and cried when grilled by Rachel Nichols about the toxic workplace his team created. And then 3 years later, he's hiring Jason Kidd. It doesn't make sense. So Josh Eberle, a Mavericks fan and writer for Hoop Magazine, NBA candidate and fan-sided, also took issue. He said the Mavericks signing Kidd was the worst look possible given their recent history, and they didn't give a damn. So do you guys think this is also like a bad image situation here, a bad PR move for the Mavericks to hire someone who's got this kind of track record with women?
That's an interesting question. Like I did that. The funny thing is that didn't come to mind.
Yeah.
Like when I heard
it's been so long.
It's been so long.
20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not something that like jumped out at me right away. I do believe Mark Cuban is trying to make a better overall program and system. Right. And the Jason Kidd stuff that was so long ago, I could see why some people would write those things and why they would complain. But at the same time, these are grown men. I think they're going with the best intentions. let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Everyone, deserves a second chance. But again, it wasn't something that came, I didn't think about it until you just ran down that whole thing.
Right,
so it's
right.
not something that is like forefront in my mind.
Right.
I was thinking more of a basketball kind of stance, but that
I
adds
hear you.
another wrinkle to it.
But that's
Right.
the thing as well, is that even from a basketball stance, you don't even have like that excuse to where
He doesn't have a winning record.
Yeah,
it's not like,
that's the thing. Like, there's like those
offset.
arguments of like, oh, like we all know, and it's unfortunate that good players will always play no matter what accusations there are against them. And it's unfortunate. It's terrible. But Kidd's not even a good coach. Like he's not terrible, but I mean, to be under 500, it's like you feel like you're just going out of the, like, okay, yeah, we like you, Jason, but you're not that good, and you've got this, and we just went through all this. I told my team we were gonna, go in a different direction. It just doesn't seem like the juice isn't worth the squeeze for Jason Kidd. It feels like, and that is, I realize, the accusation is 20 years old, but the stuff that the Mavericks organization is pretty recent.
Yes,
so that's the thing. Like what the Mavericks have gone through is pretty recent, and it's just like, it feels really tone deaf, and it's just like, oh, I forgot that I did cry with Rachel Nichols on the jump.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Hearing like the Luka situation, this could just be Mark Cuban like, let's hire him for 2 years.
Yeah.
And let him, let Luka get to that next level.
Right.
Advance his game, and then in 2 years we'll be ready to make a real run, and we get a new coach, and then who knows? Maybe it works out with Kidd and he stays. But I think this might have been more of a Luka move than a team move, especially after hearing what Rick Carlisle said and all that. Maybe this is just, let's get our star player and give him somebody that can bring him to that next level.
And Jenna James in the chat, Becky Hammond is right there.
Yes,
Becky Hammond, the Spurs coach, is
that
right
would have
there.
been the PR move.
That's the move.
I want the PR move. Yeah.
I want Becky to, take over Pop, for the Spurs. I would love that. But if she goes and gets hired by some other team, I'm like, well, she was going to get snatched up by somebody. She deserves this head coaching job.
Right.
Becky Hammond's right there. For one, she's a good basketball coach. And two, she's the perfect PR move. So why they went literally the opposite direction of a average to bad basketball coach with bad PR. It's just like, I don't know what you're thinking here, Cuban.
This is the only thing he's thinking, I think, is what JT said, and you echoed a little bit of that, Ben, too, that he's going to go off and coach up Doncic to take him to the next level. And that may help, because Jason Kidd is getting kudos for what he was able to do with a lot of the players there on the Lakers roster, kind of get them to understand what they needed to do to be able to complement LeBron really well, as LeBron and Davis were marching towards the title last year. So you respect that. And certainly this year they showed up as much as possible, considering the situation, all the injuries and everything like that. He did a good job coaching them up on the sidelines as an assistant. So great. You've earned a second shot. Your record is not that great, but we'll see what you do. But the first sexual harassment complaint that comes out, the first misstep you take, God forbid if it's Luka, God forbid if it's Luka getting accused, then the situation, and the rumors are that him and Porzingis do not get along. So what does this mean? Nico Harrison, we haven't even mentioned him as much, coming in as the new GM, is going to have to make some moves here to see if they can satisfy their all-star. And in the end, if it's not enough to get the job done, Luka's going to leave, and you're going to be left with egg all over your face in this situation. And Becky Hammond may be taking a team to the playoffs by the time this marriage is over. So
Porzingis has got to go. I mean,
that's it. This is a win now team. That's the thing.
Yes.
Like Jason Kidd is stepping into a win now team, so it's a lot of pressure for him.
If they don't make the playoffs, I think Kidd's gone after that year. I don't think he's
if they don't make if they need to at least win one series in the playoffs, at the very least win a series.
Yeah, he's lost 15 out of 24 playoffs games. It does not bode well.
Because that's the thing. The Clippers tanked to play the Mavericks.
Yeah.
And so when a team says, you know what, we'd rather not play the Lakers, we're going to play you, and you still lose that series, that's a huge loss.
I agree. Agreed. I know, Ben, you got to go in 10 minutes, so let's get you. Let's swing back over to this situation here. That Chauncey Billups is now the coach for the Portland Trail Blazers. According to the ESPN, the team reached an agreement on a 5-year deal with Chauncey, who is 44 years old. Is going to be introduced tomorrow at a press conference. This is all because of the president of basketball operations of Portland, Neil Olshey, and Billups' agent Andy Miller of Clutch Sports finalized the contract terms, and they were apparently very impressed. You talk about Jason Kidd doing great interviews. Apparently, Chauncey did a fantastic interview with them, and they offered him this situation. He's been vetted numerous times for a number of coaching positions over the last few years, and now he's finally taken on this role here in Portland. And he, just like Jason Kidd, he's inheriting a bit of a mess with a disgruntled all-star in Damian Lillard, not wondering what to do with CJ McCullough, wondering what to do with this situation. There certainly is a lot of talent on this team, but coaching them up and then getting the right players around Damian, if you can keep him, is a whole nother animal to walk into. So what do you think about this coaching hire? Do you like him? Oh, and also, this guy also had a rape allegation against him in 1997. So there's a little bit of that that's kind of hanging around. So you tell me about this overall situation.
God damn it, dude.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with this? God, why is it like no one? It's honestly insane.
Yes.
But if they're going to lose Damian Lillard, then this is just all bad. Mm-hmm. Lillard has stuck around, has said, like, I don't want to join a super team. I want to stay in Portland. Yeah. And this just feels like they cannot build around him. I don't know why, especially in the NBA. It's another thing to build around in the NFL with free agency, injuries. Like, you need so many pieces. It's not easier to build around NBA, but it's a little simpler. You only need you only need three people, it seems like. You need a big three to win a title nowadays, and they can't do that. Yep. And it's so unfortunate because Lillard pours his heart out on the court. Like, he's won big games. Yeah. He's made big shots. He's gotten as far as one, point guard can play. McCollum's a good second, but they need a third. They need a third, and they just cannot do it. And I don't know why. And if this coaching hire is something that pushes Damian Lillard out the door, the GM is gone, and the owner is like, his whole fan base is going to turn against him.
Yeah. What do you think about this overall? I mean, a 5-year deal shows a lot of commitment to a first-time head coach coming out as a former player. Now, Chauncey did win a title with the Pistons, but do you like this move here? Do you think this moves it? Because I don't think Billups was on Lillard's roster of people he wanted to coach this team.
I don't like or dislike it. To me, it's like there's a decent history. We're just talking about Jason Kidd of like players turned coaches.
Yeah,
could be really good. Mm-hmm. So again, I wish I was a fly on the wall to hear what his plan was, what his ideas are, and also if I'm Chauncey, I want to know what your plans are as GM to build this team around. And then these reports coming out that Lillard might be out, or at least he might be asking to be let go. Chauncey has to know that was a possibility before he signed up. So I think, he just wants to give it his shot to actually coach, be a head coach. And even if they lost Lillard, you're going to get a king's ransom. Whatever you sent him.
Yes.
So if you're Chauncey, you're going to have something. You're working with Lillard, one of the best players in the NBA, or you're working with a king's ransom of picks and trades and players.
I saw today, which I'll get you guys quick thoughts on. I know Ben, you got to go live at 5, but I saw one of these one of these great NBA writers on Twitter. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but he said, according to my analysis of the situation, the Pelicans can offer 9 first-round picks to the Trailblazers and whatever else for Lillard to lure him over there, and that wouldn't fall into the Stepien rule, which is you can't trade the same, multiple first-round picks in the same year. It has to be different years. They have 9 first-round picks they could trade up until like 2026 or something like that, or 2027, where they could get Lillard for that. The only team that could come close to that is OKC, that could trade 8 first-round picks in this situation. So not even the Celtics are in that conversation yet, with all the picks they have. So this is a fascinating situation. If Lillard Billups, if Lillard is gone and Billups is stepping into this is Byron Scott taking care of the Cavaliers after LeBron left. And you got to wonder if they're the reason they signed him for 5 years is so Billups can draft and help draft these players if they're going to take all these picks, which is a possibility here. What do you guys think about this? Is that too much for one player?
No, I don't. 9. Oh my God, that'd be insane. I think he's worth, maybe 3 or 4, especially on a team like New Orleans, that's got the star player in Zion. That right there, you're at least going to sell tickets. At the very least, you're going to sell tickets, and you're going to give yourself a chance to win. But with Billups, I'm not mad at the Billups hire at all. I just don't, having Lillard push out. But again, like JT, you make a great point is that if you get that King's ransom, then it's time to rebuild. And I think that would be a good opportunity for Billups. He's a great basketball mind. He knows the game. I've heard him on ESPN before he was the Clippers coach. He knows the game. So this is a good coaching hire in a vacuum. And if you have to separate with a star that unfortunately hasn't gotten you to the promised land or even to the conference finals, you know what? Take those first round draft picks and rebuild. Tell your team, tell your fan base, you know what, guys, we got a new coach. We've got you guys, and we've got a lot of draft picks. We're going to do it right. And give yourself, I'm dealing with it right now with the Spurs. Yeah. The Spurs, and all of us, trust me, we're all very, very frustrated. But you know what? We've got the right GM. We've got the right attitude towards this, and we made the playoffs for 20 plus years, so time to be at the bottom of the barrel for a little bit. And Portland, you know what, they weren't as successful as we were, but I think with a brand new coach and a lot of draft picks in your back pocket, you could do it. So I think as long as they get a good deal for Dame, then I think the fan base will be like, you know what, fine, we're gonna deal with this. We're on board.
What do you think, JT? Is 9 too many picks?
Yeah, 9 might be too many. I mean, it's just hard in this. Lillard is a player that if you put him with a star, you automatically you're in the running for whatever conference you're in. God, New Orleans would be interesting, but aren't there rumors that Zion's not thrilled with New Orleans?
No, he's not happy.
So, and you got Ball there. There's some good players there, and I don't know how Lillard would fit in with Zion. I guess they would actually work pretty well because they're very different players. But New Orleans, I don't know. It's something about New Orleans. It's hard to get excited about. It's hard to get excited about New Orleans.
But that could be the thing that turns Zion around, honestly, bringing in a star player like that. I know Lillard's more of a shooting guard than a traditional point guard, but he does elevate people around him. And so that could be it. I know, I agree with you. I don't know how happy Zion is. So I think they'd have to shore up, okay, we're at least going to have you guys for 3 years together. At the very least, 3 years together, give us a chance to really win here.
Yeah. If I'm Celtics, I give you Jaylen Brown, and I'm giving you a bunch of picks. And maybe throw some other rookies in there. I would love for Lillard and Tatum to team up.
Yeah, according to Scoop Jackson here, the Pelicans are willing to give up Brandon Ingram and 2 to 3 first-round picks for Lillard. And I saw someone else propose, one of the basketball writers proposed one of the greatest mind-numbing trades amongst 4 teams where Kevin Love and Lillard both end up on New Orleans with Zion. And that would be –
I'd love it.
That's an incredible thing to save Kevin Love from that Cleveland wasteland.
Kevin Love deserves this. Honestly,
free Kevin Love. Free Kevin Love.
Free Kevin Love. Absolutely.
Free Brittany and free Kevin Love.
He doesn't deserve it.
He deserves to be out of Cleveland. The fact, the only time we see Kevin Love is when he throws a ball at someone's head now, and he's still doing 20 and 10 every night. The guy deserves to be on somewhat of a contender, or at least just out of Cleveland. So I really hope that happens.
Is he playing the Olympics? I think he signed on for Olympics.
I think so too.
Yeah.
He's just anything. I'll play. Anybody got any LA Fitness games? Come on, this is not in Cleveland. Come on, anything.
All right. Well, we're at the 2 o'clock mark. I know we got to lose you, Ben. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, brother. Appreciate it. Always good to see you. Anything you want to pitch or promote?
Streaming tonight, twitch.tv/The Ben Goddard, guys. Everywhere at The Ben Goddard. I'll see you around. Thank you so much for having me, John.
Thanks, brother. It's great to see you. Appreciate it.
Later.
All right, there goes Ben Goddard. All right, it's just you and me, brother. Unless Winston shows up in the next 30 minutes, let's keep going here. The next situation here is Rick Carlisle. Do you like this idea of the Indiana Pacers hiring Rick Carlisle as their new coach? It's supposedly for a 4-year deal with $29 million possibly. He's got incentives attached to this contract. He was the Pacers head coach from 2003 to 2007. He had worked originally in the organization from 1997 on as an assistant under Larry Bird. Then he left in 2000 when he was passed over for the head coaching job, went and did 2 years at the Detroit Pistons that were just horrible, then came back to the Pacers, and he was fired after 2007 and then went off to the Mavericks in 2008. Of course, as we said, won a title, was there for 13 seasons, coached Jason Kidd, coached Dirk Nowitzki to be one of the greatest players ever. So now he's coming back to an Indiana team. Is this the right move? Is this a aging gunslinger heading back to his hometown, setting up a house, marrying a woman, and just kind of like passing the rest of his days. Is that what you see here?
Yeah, listen, they need to build their team. I think he's shown, he's not the coach that was there before. I think he's grown as a coach. He's grown as in fact, GM. And I think they're giving him the keys to the castle, and they're like, hey, help us build something here, because I don't know if I can name you a player off the Pacers out the top of my head right now. The team is pretty much, there's not really anybody there. So, why not? If you could get somebody that's coming off a very successful run with the Dallas and Indiana Pacers, who will have some draft picks, let him see what he can do.
Well, Nate Bjorken, who was the coach for 1 year, just 1 year this past year, they immediately jettisoned him. Apparently, he lost the team. No, he lost the team towards the tail end of the season, and that's what they looked at when they were looking at this and making a change here. They realized they weren't as cohesive as they needed to be, and they think they have a good team. You have Malcolm Brogdon there, lately of the Milwaukee Bucks, Karis LeVert from the Nets, Justin Holiday, Doug McDermott is there. He was showing up, certainly. Domantas Sabonis, the other Sabonis, is on there. TJ McConnell. Remember, Jeremy Lamb got hurt, so he was doing well on that team as well.
I like
Aaron Holiday is on this team, so they've got some talent. Not anywhere near what he probably had when he was there. Right, no stars really. So that would be the next move, and maybe Indiana understands that it's about fixing the psyche of this team, and then maybe bringing in some play, making it attractive for a couple of free agents to come there and play under a title-winning coach like Rick Carlisle.
That might help, like you said, with the free agents. Like if they're going to try to sign somebody, you're going to, Rick Carlisle's there, somebody who's established winner, a good coach. Like then, it's going to definitely help with the free agency. I don't know what their plan is, but we'll see. I mean, I don't think Indiana's a place, star players are like dying to go to. But you remember the days when they had Paul George and some of these guys. I mean, it was an exciting time for the Pacers for a while.
Please, I grew up at a time when Reggie was doing his thing.
Yeah, that's going back,
with Rick Smits and
Jalen Rose
and Dale Davis in there. Like it was great to watch those Indiana Pacers teams. They were tough. I would argue they gave the Bulls a better run for the money than the Knicks ever did. There was a real chance for the Pacers to end a couple of those Bulls runs during their title seasons. They just couldn't get over that hump a little bit. I think the Bulls own the Knicks mentally, but the Pacers were willing to be frisky as fuck against Jordan's Bulls. So I remember that. Yeah.
I think Jordan said in the last Dance documentary that the Pacers were probably the toughest team, one of the toughest teams he ever faced.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the birth of basketball. It's Indiana. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to there's a piece of that too as well that's here. So, much love to Rick Carlisle. Go and play your trade, brother. Hope it all goes well for you there. And maybe because Indiana was one game away from getting that 8th seed. We beat them. So
it's got to be refreshing as a coach to come off from Dallas, who has these high expectations.
Yes,
with these players like Porzingis and Doncic, to go to somewhere where the expectations are low. Man, they're like, hey, come here, coach basketball, help us become a better team. You don't have to worry about trying to make the finals every year. So I bet it's going to be a nice little bit of a change from Dallas to Indiana.
Yeah, and all the drama with Cuban and Doncic, all you put that all in the rearview mirror, just relax and coach the team. Yeah, teach fundamentals. All right, let's move on to some NFL stuff here. Aaron Rodgers, this is interesting, JT. Let's talk about this. He has until July 2nd to opt out of his current situation with the Packers. His $11.5 million. If he does this, and this was an agreement between the NFL and the NFLPA, which gives him the ability to sit out all of the upcoming season without any financial obligations to the team for not playing this year. His $11.5 million in signing bonus allocation would not be subject to forfeiture. His $6.8 million roster bonus, which he got in March, most likely would still be paid out weekly during the regular season. He would still make $6.8 million for not playing one fucking down in the NFL. However, if he doesn't opt out before July 2nd, then he could lose $18.3 million potentially if he sits out and doesn't play. A lot of people think that he is not going to opt out, that it's way too short of a timetable. July 2nd, I think, is Friday. So what do you think when you look at this situation? Is this an unfair thing for Aaron Rodgers, or do you think they did the best they could? And he's got 5 days to figure this shit out.
That's crazy. I wish I was back in Wisconsin, and I wish I was there, and I wish he opted out because it would be like Mad Max Fury Road out there. It would just be insanity. People would be, the alcohol sales would be through the roof. Every bar it would be insane. Imagine if you're Aaron Rodgers just decide not to play for you.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a god there. I don't know. I don't even know. It's insane.
Is he more of a god than Brett Favre ever was? I feel like Aaron is, right? There isn't that stigma.
To a different generation. You know what I mean?
Fair.
I think, trust me, while I was in Wisconsin, I saw plenty of Brett Favre pictures in plenty of different bars. Like, he is still beloved out there, without a doubt. But yeah, football is like religion in Wisconsin, and I just couldn't imagine. I think he's too competitive. I think he doesn't want to sit out a whole season.
Yeah.
He might still ask for a trade. I still might be arguing with all them. Then it's like he just got married to Shailene Woodley, or they're engaged. He's out there. He's still dogging Green Bay. Like, there was a promo he did with Tom Brady and Phil Nicholson we were talking about, and he's still kind of like giving him a little bit of shit. But at the end of the day, I just think he's too competitive. I don't think he wants to give up those stats for a year. I don't think he wants to give up a chance. Listen, they almost made it to the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah,
if you come back, there's a chance you're going to the Super Bowl this year. Yeah. You have that good of a team. So having those kind of teams, he's played plenty of years where he hasn't had those kind of teams.
Right.
And he did not make it far in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I think if you have this window where you have a chance to win the Super Bowl as a competitor and a football player, I don't think you could let those go to waste. I don't think you could sit out a chance to go to the Super Bowl and get another trophy. So at the end of the day, I think he will play. He might not be happy about it. And he'll be looking for his exit in the years to come.
Yeah, I mean, $18.3 million is nothing to sneeze at. Plus, if he missed training camp, it could go upwards to $20.3 million. And now and some of the other reports are saying that he could claim that it's wear and tear on his body or injury to his body, and that's the reason why he's stepping away for a year. That could be a thing. But I agree with you. I think he's too competitive. I think 5 days is nowhere near enough time to figure out if you want to retire from the NFL. And what have you got lined up? I think taking a year off would be really smart for him right now, because the organization would be even more desperate to have him back. Maybe he could renegotiate his contract. Or if he found a way to have his rights lapse, he'd be so ready for another team to step in and take him on a 1 or 2 year flyer, pay him a crap ton of money. Maybe if Brady retires, Rodgers just slides in that Tampa Bay spot. You just never know what could happen here. But 5 days is way too little time to make a decision.
Yeah. But, I mean, listen, I just, at the end of the day, if he did sit out, I don't know if Green Bay should take him back, because then you're throwing Jordan. You got to throw Jordan Love out there.
Yeah, you do.
You got to throw him out there and see he's the future. And then, like, if you're an organization, do you really want to have a guy come back who decides just not to play for you? Like, I don't think as a team you could, like, really make a case for that. So I think if he sits out, he's not coming back to Green Bay. He's going somewhere else. And like I said, for me, you have a team here that's capable of winning a Super Bowl. Yeah. How many years has he played where he didn't have that team? Yeah. It could go up and down. A couple years from now, he could have a crap roster, crap running game, and he's just, out there getting killed and with no chance to go to Super Bowl. So you got to come back, I think. Can he come back and still argue for a trade? Yeah, they might not trade him.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, because like I said, it's a lot of money to play around with. It's only 5 days. So I see some people in the chat going, it's manufactured ESPN bullshit. No, it isn't. I mean, Rodgers has made it very, very clear vocally that he does not want to come back to Green Bay at this point. This isn't like, he's not saying anything and everyone's just making up shit. No, this is something that he's like legitimately said and been very vocal about, and saying, maybe I'll sit out. So I don't know where you guys are thinking this is fake news in any way, shape, or form. And Devontae Adams thinks he's coming back for sure. He'll be ready. But quarterbacks are interesting people, ladies and gentlemen. And as much as receivers are divas and running backs can be assholes and defenders can be whatever, quarterbacks are fascinating because the amount of pressure on them, and when they're successful at it, there's so many other factors that come into this situation. And who the hell predicted Andrew Luck retiring? Like, who saw that coming after his injury? You think, these guys are warriors, they're going to keep going. But he realized that it wasn't for him. So it happens all the time. Some of these guys get enough and they retire, and then they can't stay or unretire, like Favre, and need to come back and get the shine. I think Rodgers, if there's an opportunity for him to look at a post-NFL world, if he takes the leap, I don't think he's ever looking back. And he's just one of those guys, I think.
You know, it's interesting. I think of Tom Brady when he tore his ACL in like 2008 or 7.
Yeah.
And he said having that year off actually gave him a little bit of a second life. It gave his body a year to rest.
Yeah.
And he actually credited it with him having another great run. So, you know, Aaron Rodgers taking a year off, it might be better for him.
Yeah.
Just as for his longevity as a starter in the league.
Yeah.
Again, it's a statement to not come back to your team and just not play. That's a big statement to make, man.
Yeah. About the organization. Not even about just the team, the organization itself.
The organization, yeah.
Yeah. We got a couple of super chats that have come in here. We'll wrap the show up here in about 18 minutes here. Xavier Black Wiley says, this might be off topic, but what is your worst / overrated sports film? Mine, football, variety, blondes, varsity blues, blues, basketball / Hoosiers. Oh, so for football, his worst overrated sports film is varsity blondes, blues. And then for basketball, it's Hoosiers. How dare you, Xavier? But yeah, go ahead. What do you think? What's your answer on this one?
What's overrated? And this might be blasphemy to you, and you can yell at me, Rocha. I think The Natural is a good movie, but as a sports movie, like the baseball's not that exciting. Listen, I will give you this: that last home run, that one scene is amazing.
Yeah,
but the 2 hours before that and around it are good. They're not bad. And here's the thing: I wouldn't say it's by no means am I saying The Natural is a bad movie.
Okay,
it's just not. If I want a baseball movie, it's not the first movie I'm going to throw in because a lot of it is about what's going on outside of baseball.
Yes,
what happens to him and some of the dark places he goes. And it's a good movie, but and I love that last shot. But at the same time, it's not like the baseball movie I'm going to go to. To me, I go to more something like Major League, Bull Durham, where it's really about the game. Whereas this one, it's a little bit less. I feel like it's more about what is going outside of the game.
That's fair. More about the elements around the game,
exactly.
You know, and the kind of brushing off a little bit of the nostalgia and showing you the ugly underbelly that was actually going on when it became, quote, America's pastime. There were corrupt owners throughout the whole history of the league, and the same ones who would complain about players cheating were the ones doing some nefarious shit in the background.
Similar would be 8 Men Out, but I think that does a good job balancing with a lot of baseball with the dark side. Whereas I think Natural, the baseball almost takes a little bit of a backdrop to everything else.
Right, because of the stuff with Kim Basinger and all of that. Yeah, I hear your point absolutely. I love The Natural, but I agree with you. It's just like Field of Dreams. I don't consider that a baseball movie. It is
100%. Thank you.
It's a father-son movie that happens to be having baseball be their connection, but it is not about baseball necessarily. Yeah, I think my overrated sports film, I've said it a number of times on Top 10. I know JT might go crazy, but Rudy. I absolutely hate Rudy. Hate Rudy with a passion.
Is it because of the real world information that you have?
Yes, about Rudy.
Okay.
Yes, about that douche in real life. Yes, but also
as a movie, it's so well shot. It's so well acted. Ned Beatty, rest in peace, Ned Beatty. You're amazing in that movie.
Yeah, rest in peace. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say anything negative.
John Favreau. I mean, Vince Vaughn even has a cameo.
He does.
I love Rudy, but okay.
Yeah. It just does nothing for me. I watch it and I'm like bored out of my fucking mind.
Wow, interesting.
And as far as another one for football, I think I'd throw in Any Given Sunday. Other than Pacino's 5-minute speech, which is one of the greatest speeches in the history of cinema. I even have it on my workout mix back when I used to work out 20 pounds ago. I had it on my workout mix. I'm great motivational speech, especially as you get older. But all the other stuff around it is just horrible.
It's kind of a mess.
It is. And the design of the uniforms, the name of the teams, it's horrible. Like Oliver Stone wanted to like just absolutely F the NFL in the ass with how he portrayed that whole thing. It was terrible. So
I don't hate Any Given Sunday, but it's something like it's one of those movies where I'm like, you know, I haven't seen it in a while. Any Given Sunday, I want to rewatch it, and then I watch it, and I'm like kind of disinterested halfway through it. Like I don't want to finish it. I'm like, I'm just gonna fast forward to the parts I do like, and not watch the whole thing. That's how I feel about that movie.
That's fair. That's
fair. I think there's basketball movies that are overrated.
I mean, Blue Chips is. That's not that good.
But it wasn't really praised.
Right.
So like, it's hard to say that's overrated. Yeah, nothing really comes. There's underrated movies. I think Necessary Roughness is a great football movie.
If I give you a high five, I give you a virtual high five on that. I love Necessary Roughness.
Love Necessary Roughness. I feel like that doesn't get. Oh, Tin Cup. Somebody just mentioned.
Tin Cup's great.
That's a good one. So yeah,
I like Tin Cup a lot. That's a great Don Johnson, by the way, in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Costner and Russo and Cheech Marin are great, but like Don Johnson is fantastic in that film, doing a little more realistic Shooter McGavin than Christopher McDonald. Happy Gilmore. Greg Castillo says Spurs in 4. Oh, thank you, Greg. I guess you're taking a shot at Ben, but Ben's gone, so apologies. Oh, yeah. That's not overrated. That's asked about 400 times in the Schmodown, so that is not overrated in any way, shape, or form, or underrated, rather, either. Oh, yeah, the Once in a Lifetime, the New York Cosmos one, that's a fantastic documentary. 61 is great, from Billy Crystal, absolutely, and Murderball. Yep.
Murderball, good documentary. I like 61.
Yeah,
61 is really fun.
I was really surprised how much I enjoyed 61. Great job by Christopher.
Barry Peppers and Punisher himself, Thomas Jane.
Yeah, Thomas Jane, absolutely. Yeah. All right, and Xavier Black Wiley sent another one here. I'll see if I can find it here. I think he sent one. Okay, one more. The Euros have been amazing. France today and Denmark, and then Spain in extra time. What's been your favorite moment of the 2020 Euros? Well, JT, I don't think can answer this one.
I don't even know what you're talking about. It's like, is it Euros? Is that like Bitcoin?
No,
is that money out there?
No, I guess this would be the spot. I'll bring it up real quick. Yeah, definitely. I know JJ can get a drink if he wants, but the Euros have been happening here right now as we're talking about this. France and Switzerland are surprisingly tied at 3-3 in extra time, heading into the second iteration of overtime there, extra time there. Belgium beat Portugal 1-0. A little bit of a surprise that was such a low-scoring affair. The Danes beat Wales. The Danish Denmark, they beat 4-0. They beat Wales. Italy barely got past Austria after they went up 2-0 in extra time. The Austrians had a lot of opportunities to tie that game, only got one goal out of their multiple opportunities, so that was a heck of a game. And the Czech Republic shocked the hell out of the Netherlands yesterday. And then, of course, this morning, Spain took care of business against Croatia, but it was close. It was closer than it should have been. And now 3-3, as I said. So my favorite moments so far, I think Raheem Sterling getting vindicated by his performances for England, getting those goals that led them to win the group. And now they've got to play Germany tomorrow. If they can get it done against Germany tomorrow, I think Raheem Sterling will get seen as a hero. A lot of people felt he shouldn't even be starting for the English national team. But, of course, the overall main story, the fact that Denmark is in the quarters right now with a possibility of the semis is pretty incredible for them overall, because they had Christian Eriksen go down with a heart attack in the first half of the first game of the tournament on the field. He was dead, ladies and gentlemen. And they brought him back to life. And the fact that they, in essence, looked like they were going to crash out of the tournament, winning that last game, getting into this elimination round, then winning their game against Wales, and now they're in a position where they could get into the semifinals and possibly even the finals. Pretty incredible stuff. So that's what I would say overall about the Euros. Okay, let's jump into this Olympic news here. JT, Simone Biles locked up another berth on the US Olympic Gymnastics team. You know, this might feel crazy. She's only 24 years old, bro. Yet it feels like she's been around for so long over the last few years. What's your feeling about her getting into this? Like, she's going to be leading this team in essence. What do you feel about her, man?
She's amazing. I mean, she's kind of like the MJ of gymnastics right now. I feel like every few weeks I'm seeing a story about her doing something which thought was undoable as a gymnastic. And the thing is, she's 24, but they start young. When you're like in high school, that's when you're really hitting your prime. I enjoy the Olympics. I don't always tune into gymnastics. I don't follow it, but I'm all Team USA for anything. So I hope she goes out there and kicks some ass.
Yeah, she won 5 medals in Rio in the last Olympics in 2016. That is not easy to do in gymnastics, ladies and gentlemen, especially because judges can be quite finicky, can be quite picky, are nefarious for rumored corruption behind the scenes in some of their scoring. So to be able to do that is pretty incredible. So she's heading to Japan, and hopefully all our Olympic people head to Japan and come back without catching anything, because apparently Japan made it very, very clear that it is the responsibility of teams to monitor COVID, and they cannot be sued or have any issues and the USOC cannot be sued at all for any COVID contraction that happens amongst the teams. So we shall see. We've already seen it affect the College World Series. We've seen it affect the NBA with Chris Paul recently going out for a few days. So anything's possible here with the Olympics, but it's good to have someone like Simone Biles representing the gymnastics as the face of the team. Certainly someone who's been involved socially as well outside of the sport, and someone who had to overcome the sexual assault from Larry Nassar, all those accusations against. She's a product of that situation as well. So shout out to her. One other Olympic story here. Olympic hammer thrower Gwen Berry apparently was really pissed at the national anthem about it being played at the Olympic trials at a certain time. She said that she was pissed about it. She felt like it was a setup and they did it on purpose. She wanted to stand on the stand and wear a black shirt that said activist athlete in a way of protesting the flag. She said the anthem was supposed to be played before they walked out. They had enough opportunities to play the national anthem, she said, but then I was thinking about what I should do. Eventually, I just stayed there and I swayed. I put my shirt over my head. You look at the picture, it's the two winners who are higher up, the two white Americans are facing the flag. She has turned her back to the flag. So she wanted to make more of a protest. And she said, this is disrespectful. I didn't really want to be up there. Like I said, it was a setup. I was hot. I was ready to take my pictures and get into some shade. And apparently Deanna Price and second place finisher Brooke Anderson, as I said, were on the podium. But Barry claims they said they were going to play the anthem before she walked out, and they didn't do that. The USA Track and Field disputed it, said, no, we've been playing the anthem at the same time every day. So there's a lot of this stuff. We're going to see more of this, I think, in the Olympics, JT. People feeling strong enough to protest the flag or make their moments. What do you think about this?
They're Americans. They can do whatever they want.
Hell yeah.
That's what the flag stands for, so they can protest. So, yeah, I mean, as far as, like, did the organization purposely do it? I mean, I don't know. You'd have to look at their track record.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Yeah, just to avoid controversy and like any problems. But listen, it's not going to slow. You could do all you want. They're still going to find a way to have their voice be heard and protest whatever way they want to.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And they should absolutely be allowed to speak their piece. I mean, it is freedom of speech. That's the First Amendment before the Second Amendment, ladies. So before you even pick up your guns, you got to be okay with freedom of speech overall. So if you can spout your nutty conspiracy theories, then the other side of the coin is that people get to black people who have experienced a lot of racism systemically in this country get to stand up and protest, even as they're representing the flag. Representing the country does not mean you're agreeing to be okay with everything the country has done to the history of the country. You're saying I'm an American and I want it to be better. That's what you're saying. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. And shout out to her for being able to stand on her own 2 feet and do that. And we're going to see more of it. So people better get ready. I know the right is going to go crazy about it, but people better get ready. This is going to happen. One last story here. We'll get out of here. And so it looks like Trae Young is listed as questionable for game 4 here. But also Demaryius Thomas is retiring from the NFL as a Bronco. What's your memory of Demaryius Thomas? Is it the Tim Tebow catch to beat the Steelers? What's your memories of Demaryius Thomas, brother?
I mean, just a solid player overall. I mean, he was a great player. There were even times where I was like, come on over to New England. There were definitely those times where like he would be like free agent talks, and I'm like, oh my God, like there's a couple times where he was rumored to come to England. I was like, I would have been happy to see him. Yeah, I guess that Tebow play really does kind of stick out. Yeah. I rewatched that play recently because I go sometimes on YouTube. I'll just type in greatest NFL moments just to revisit some of them, and that is one. I remember watching it live and just being like jaw dropped. Everyone was ready to bury Tebow, and he did get buried the next week when he played the Patriots.
He did. Holy shit, did he ever?
So, but yeah, Demaryius Thomas, just a great player. I mean, nothing, not a controversial guy. Solid player, had speed. As someone who played for Denver, I definitely saw him quite a few times against New England. True. And he always was a dangerous weapon. I didn't know he retired, so good for him.
33 years old. It's time to get out before the body gets too broken down.
Yeah.
He was the first of 2 first-round picks for the Broncos in the 2010 NFL draft. The other guy, Tim Tebow. So they were able to hook up for that incredible. And I do that too. I will go. I'll go on Tim Tebow dives sometimes because it's still a miracle that season ever happened and what he was able to do. It's phenomenal. I wish it had worked out in New England just to see what Belichick could have done with that guy.
Yeah.
But Demaryius Thomas spent 9 seasons with the Broncos, finished his career as the team's second leading receiver with over 9,000 yards behind Rod Smith. He is third in franchise history in catches behind Rod Smith and Shannon Sharp. So played 10 seasons overall. He finishes with 724 catches, 9,763 yards, and 63 touchdowns. And they're going to be honoring him at halftime of an upcoming game against the Jets, their home opener, so September 26th. So look for that. So
that's guaranteed to win.
Yeah, probably.
I want to make sure he's going to get a victory.
Absolutely. All right, let's get on out of here. Thank you, JT. Appreciate it, brother, man. Thank you all so much for joining us for the Streamlabs Super Chats. JT, where can they find you? Everything you got going on, man?
Yeah, just JT Movie Thanks. Boom.
There you go. Are you doing more stuff on your channel or not yet? Are you
not yet? I was waiting for movies to get back to normal, and they're getting there.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the days where it's like every week something's coming out. Where right now it feels like maybe if you're lucky once a month something comes out. Like this year, Fast and Furious came out. It's like nothing's coming out until Black Widow, and then I don't know. I think the next thing after that is Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. We'll follow him anyway, wherever he does his social media stuff, ladies and gentlemen. He's a great follow. As for me, you can follow me at the Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And thank you to the over 130 you all who are watching us today throughout the show. Really appreciate it. Please hit that like button down below. Leave a comment. That's really important for those who are watching it later. And more than anything else, subscribe to the channel. We crossed 17,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. Let's start marching towards 20. So come aboard. We got so much entertainment happening here on the channel now. Got all kinds of reviews, trailer reactions, pre-produced videos we're going to be putting up. Patreon shows. If you're not part of the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha. The Hangouts, you get to train me for Schmodown matches. I play with this guy in Rushmore. You can train me for those matches. All kinds of possibilities. And Patreon shows are coming back in July. So come and be a part of that as well. And more than anything else, just, and follow me and do all the things you can. And also, I'm on Twitch. The Outlaw Nation. I'm on Twitch there. Tomorrow,
Twitch now. Wow.
Yeah, I am. I started 4 days ago. Every day I've been going at least an hour on Twitch, and tomorrow I will do a 2-hour live watch along of England versus Germany in that Euro 2020 matchup. So come and join me there as well. All right, that's it. We're out of here. Take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time on another brand new episode of Game Time.